All right, welcome into another edition of Catching Up with Tommy Mack here on 1010XL's podcast platform, 1010XL.com, 1010XL app. Of course, we're live on Facebook, and we'll share it all over social media, other podcast platforms that you like watching, listening to your favorite shows, some of which might come right out of here, the 1010XL podcast studios. Great to be here. Great to be alive on a Friday afternoon. Lots to get into, some new announcements as well. Of course, my show brought to you by Team Tommy Mack, a group of businesses that I personally endorse. I got some new swag. From LVP, baby. Absolutely. Carbon Man Flooring, one of the great members of Team Tommy Mack. I'll tell you all about them and the others a little bit later on. We are, like I said, we got some announcements to make. We're going to look around the National Football League, some news and notes out there, and then we're going to look at our hometown team as they get ready to take on the Miami Dolphins week 1 of the National Football League regular season. We'll talk about a ranking, too, that I saw online throughout the week, and maybe look a little bit at Atlanta and that game even more so because I found some new nuggets. But before we get into all of that, let's welcome in my man, Grammage. How you doing, Grammage? Good afternoon.
Friday, baby.
Friday, yeah, and then come Saturday and Sunday. You know, I know Fort George. You're a big fan of Fort George. I'm told.
Love Fort George.
I think I'm going to Fort George Sunday.
Oh.
I think my whole family's been invited to go.
One
with our
last
non-football
Sunday.
I guess so, yeah.
Well,
yeah,
there's football, but not NFL football.
No, not NFL football.
Dude, like Fort George is the best, man.
Yeah, Fort George is a lot of fun, and we'll have a good time out there. And, of course, living here on the First Coast, you get to do some awesome stuff like go boating in nearby waters, which is absolutely incredible. Of course, we saw some college ball last night, and exciting stuff for the most part. I did fall asleep a little bit on the couch. Came back to it, though. Did not finish the game, but, of course, a very good game with North Dakota State and Colorado. I tell you, they got some players on that Colorado team. They're fun to watch. Some new and exciting news here. So, and I can make this official, Grammage, right? The Monday deal? Monday at noon?
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
we're locked and loaded, right? This is our studio. All right. So, a few minor changes. We are going to instead of doing Tuesdays and Fridays of Catching Up with Tommy Mack, we're going to do Mondays and Fridays for Catching Up with Tommy Mack. I said to Grammage this past Tuesday, I'm like, I love being on Tuesday because I'm kind of the only one, but at the same time, I'm a day removed from the game, man. I think Monday would be great. We started talking. Next thing you know, hey, Tommy Mack, do you want Monday at noon? I'm like, hell yeah, I want Monday at noon. So put that into your calendar if you want to check it out. Every Monday after the Jaguars play on Sundays, we will get on the horn right here from the 1010XL podcast studios for Catching Up with Tommy Mack, brought to you by Team Tommy Mack. And we'll do that Monday and then Friday. So we'll review the game on Monday. We'll look forward to the game on Friday. Of course, next week, we'll get into the Miami Dolphins. Can we stop their running attack? Can we stop their passing attack? Is going to be a big headline full of next week. So that's number one. Number two, when the Jaguars are away, when they play away, I will be joining Hayes Carline and or Mia O'Brien, of course. Her last name, I got lost there for a second. But Mia O'Brien and Hayes Carline and I will be a part of the Jaguar Kickoff Show. So how about that? From 8 to 10 in the morning on Sunday mornings right here on 1010XL.
That's the 1010XL. That's the Terminix Kickoff Show.
The Terminix. Is it Terminix? Thank you
sir.
very much. Well, thank you,
Absolutely.
Terminix, for sponsoring that show. But we will be doing that, getting you ready for kickoff. We will start it on Monday. And then I ran into Mia in the hallway, and she's like, hey, Tommy Mack, can you be available for, like, instant game reaction type stuff that we're going to do on the YouTube channel? I said, absolutely, man. Maybe not every week, but I'll be more than happy to contribute. So that will be a lot of fun, no doubt about it. Football season here. It's a busy time of the year. I've got some other stuff that we're looking at doing as well, so stay tuned for that. I wrote down a bunch of names. I'm looking at my old notes from the game against Atlanta. That the sack Walker Little gave up, this is pretty wild. I rewatched that sack. You know what I'm talking about against Atlanta? He got beat on the inside. Okay?
When Trevor was in the game?
No, Trevor was not in the game.
Okay.
No,
it was
backup.
Mac.
Yeah, it was second quarter or third.
I remember.
Maybe,
I remember
like
what you're talking
that.
about.
So I made a comment like, I was pissed off. I'm like, there he goes again, giving up a sack. But It was interesting when I look back at the tape. So the guy does a speed rush. He handles him. He gets a little bit over the top on him, but he doesn't remember that the chip is coming. So Johnson, number 2, is chipping, which means he's going to whack that defensive end just a little bit with his shoulder pad to help you out a little and then go out on a route, right? That's what a chip is. Well, when he chipped him so hard that it knocked him even further inside the defender, and Walker was so high on him, all the guy had to do was run underneath him and hit the quarterback. So is it Walker's fault? Yeah, and the fact that you got to know the chip's coming, so maybe don't be so high on that kickback. Still go inside out because you know if he gets around you, what's going to be there? The chip. You know what I mean?
Right.
So play more inside out. Anyway, little nitpick in there. But I did want to get that out there because I know I hammered him pretty good on giving up sacks. I normally do it. Look, I don't like what I saw to Brendan Sheriff getting beat on the inside. That can't happen, man. That cannot happen. I don't care if it's second string, first string. I don't care regular season, preseason. You're going to get your quarterback hurt. And that's the last thing we need. And guess what? We don't want any of them hurt. But you got to make sure that's shored up for sure on that offensive line. I see people even on the station a little bit questioning Nicole Van Lon and keeping him. They did bring the guys they cut. They basically brought all of them back for the most part, I think. Right? Terrell Edmonds is back.
Cooks.
Flowers is back. Trammell is back. Most of them are back.
Elijah
Blake
Cooks
Hance
is
is
back.
back. Who'd you say?
Elijah Cooks.
Yeah, Elijah Cooks is back. I tell you, it's interesting with that. With Elijah Cooks, Tim, what Sean Farwell said about Tim Jones. They played it at. I told Dempsey in a break. I said, "Did you see what he said about Tim Jones? That's why he makes the team every year." So what he says about Tim Jones, Heath Farwell, the special teams coordinator, he's like, "Look, I can put the guy as a gunner, and I also could put him on a linebacker. I can also put him in the vice position, which, to be honest, I didn't know what it was until we looked it up. The vice takes care of the gunner. So think of how versatile that athlete must be. Fast enough to be a gunner, fast, quick, and strong enough to be a vice, and then also be big enough to handle a linebacker on punt coverage, where he's running down on cut and you're blocking, you're on the receiving team. That's why he's on this team. You know, and can Elijah Cooks do all of that? I don't know. I don't think they've tried him to do all that. If Elijah Cooks made some bigger plays against better competition, would they have kept 7? Maybe. I don't know. But I think it comes down to those last positions who could play special teams. Tim Jones is a core 4 special teamer. You need those guys. Caleb Johnson, another guy. Wingard, another guy. I mean, those. I often talk about grunt scrammage. You need the grunts, the glue tight. You know, you got to have your star players, your star positions. You got to have those grunts in order to be a successful team. You got to have 4 Tim Joneses. You know what I mean? You got to have those kind of guys on your team. But I thought that was pretty interesting. So yeah, when you look at Miami, that's what it's going to come down to. Those guys protecting our QB, and can we stop them? Can we cover them? How you lining up against Miami, I wonder, huh? Who you putting on?
They better
are you doubling Tyreek and then putting Campbell on Waddle? You know, try to shut him down if you can. Campbell, look, nobody can keep up with Tyreek Hill one-on-one for the most part. I mean, that's a really tall order. So I might not waste my best guy on covering him. I'll take my best cover guy and put him on the number 2 and see if he can take him out of the game. And then double Tyreek.
Yeah.
But can they stop the run? They got some backs. I'm a little concerned. I think our offense will do fine. Again, I want to see our O-line. But I want to see our defense. You know, it's funny. Eric Armstead came out like this week, and now it's being, I want to play end more than tackle, or they counted him as end because they kept so many tackles. Whatever. You cannot tell me that when the Jags line up there and the first down, that he's not going to be the next tackle. You're keeping him on the bench. You know what I'm saying? I like Jeremiah Ledbetter. I think I'm glad he made the team. I think he's a good player. It says same. I like that. But are you kidding me? I'm putting Eric Armstead as my defensive tackle. And then on passing downs, I might switch. right? I'll move Trayvon in, move him out. That might work. I'm not saying he's never going to play DN, but don't give me this DN. Now, if you had to hide him, not hide him, but had to count him as a DN so you could keep another D tackle, fine, no problem. But that guy's got to play defensive tackle. He's got to. You got to put him next to Josh. You got to put him next to Trayvon, right? So whether it's Josh on the outside of him or the other side, he's on the inside, or Trayvon's on the inside of him. You know what I'm saying? So you will play a little inside and out. But that guy's got to play tackle. There's no way you can bring him in here and say, all right, you'll be off the bench backing up our two defensive ends. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
You're not bringing in Eric Armstead to be a rotational depth piece.
To rush the pass or no.
Yeah,
no, you got to be stout against the run, man. We're going to need you against the run. I think he'll be fine.
He's not Yasir Abdullah.
Yeah. No, right.
This is not a guy you're bringing on 3rd down, 3rd and 8, try to get after the pass. He's not Arden Key from a couple years. This is this is supposed to be a staple of your defense here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he will be. I think, like what Coach Ryan Nielsen said, we're going to move him around. And look, the guy's a weapon. There's no doubt, as long as he can stay healthy. And we hope that can happen. Looking around the National Football League, Brandon Ayuk gets paid. Same deal that's been on the table, I guess. He didn't want to go to camp, or he didn't want to practice. Whatever. Ready now. $76 million guaranteed. He's a great player. Got to give him the ball. Still got Debo, still got George, still got C-Mac. Talking about mouse to feed.
You got Ricky Pearsall.
Ricky Pearsall.
Don't forget about
Damn
Slick
right,
Rick.
the Gator. No doubt. But he finally gets paid. $76 million in guaranteed dinero. Pretty nice. He's one of the better players. There's no doubt about that. Looks like Jacoby Brissett will start over Drake May. Drake May, the only rookie, first-string rookie not getting, or first-round rookie not getting the nod as the starter. Jacoby Brissett, I can understand that. Your first-year coach and Jared Mayo, right? You want to go the safe route? Okay? I think eventually, it depends how the season goes, but eventually you're going to get the kid in. If you're winning, you won't. You'll wait. If you're not winning, you'll put him in there. You'll need to. But that was interesting. Miami extends Coach McDaniels through 2028. Well-deserved. Doing a great job down there. Jack Del Rio joins the Wisconsin staff. Good for Jack. How about that? Jack going to help out. I think it's Luke Fickell's team for Wisconsin. Good for Jack.
Luke Fickell was at Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And Del Rio has ties in kind of that Midwest area.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. And look, a lot of former coaches, that's what they do. They become like these consultants, if you will. Jack Del Rio can bring a lot to the table to a college coach and pro coaches too. He's been a head coach, been a coordinator, had success, didn't have success. He's been around. Good for him. Good for him. And as I wrap up looking around the National Football League, question, Grammage. If you're Dallas, are you extending Dak Prescott before the season?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. You kind of have to. Because if you don't, you're starting over after this year, right? You just invested all this money in all these other guys. You got all these great players. Your window's, wide open, right? If you're for Super Bowl, this is it, right? You got one of the best defensive players in the game in Micah Parsons. You got a ton of weapons on the other side.
You just paid CeeDee Lamb.
You're not going to go with a rookie. You'll never, you know what? I don't think you'll finish bad enough to where you'll ever be in a spot to draft a top-end rookie. You know what I mean? To start over. But that's, I think, it's interesting. And I like Dak. Dak's a very good player. I'm not saying that. The only question I'd have for Dak, are you clutch enough to win a championship? It's a fair question.
When the chips are down in the third quarter of a playoff game, you're down 7.
Can you bring him back?
Yeah.
Consistently. He had a great year last year. I like Dak Prescott. He's a hell of a quarterback, but you got to be that clutch player. But here's the thing, and this is where owners are kind of stuck, if you will. I'm not upset. They're worth a lot of money. But they're sitting there going, okay, well, what are my options? If I don't pay him, he's gone. Then what do I do?
Well, right.
What do I do? Okay, here's the flip side. Okay, give him another $400 million. What if he doesn't win you a title? What if he doesn't even get you to the Super Bowl? Is it worth the investment? No. Like Mike Dempsey, my good friend and colleague said just earlier, he's like, I mean, Dallas, the franchise is worth like $10 billion. Who cares? Right? But Jerry Jones wants another Super Bowl. I mean, they all want a Super Bowl.
I bet if you offered Jerry Jones, if you said you can have a Super Bowl this year, but you've got to cut your team's worth in half, he would do it.
He would probably do it. He can live off $5 billion, I think.
When you're his age, I hope so.
I hope so. Although if you have a lifestyle of $10 billion, maybe not. But
yeah.
No, and that's, look, I guess it's like you go back to Trevor's contract, right? Happy for him. But were they kind of not forced into it? But like if you don't do it, right? What would the national media, what would everybody be saying? If you didn't extend Trevor Lawrence this year, what would they say? You don't believe in him.
Right.
That's what they say. Well, why aren't you extending it? Why aren't you working on that? Well, we want to see another year. You know the camp I was in. I'm happy he got paid, but I'd want to see another year. It's fine. I'm glad he's our guy, and we're rolling with him. It's great. But if you didn't do that, then the rest of the league would be like, well, I guess they're thinking what the rest of us have been kind of thinking. Maybe he's not as good as, he's supposed to be.
Well,
you know what I mean? I mean,
yeah.
And so you almost forced into it. Like, now, granted, you don't pay it right away. You pay the signing bonus right away, but you don't pay everything right away. It goes down the road. But you're almost forced to do it. And I think Dallas kind of feels the same way. Like, I kind of have to pay him.
Right.
Trey Lance ain't it. If Trey Lance was it, right, I would be like, okay, maybe we don't need Dak. Maybe it's time to go with the young kid. But he's not ready. So what do? You pay Dak Prescott.
Well,
it's a good position to be in if you're Dak.
And what's happened is ever since COVID, because during COVID, the league revenue dipped a little bit during COVID.
Yep.
So now it's been just skyrocketing since then. So every year the cap is going substantially up, right?
Yep.
So because of that, and because every agent in the league knows that, and every agent in the league knows that all these contracts are going to do is continue to go up, and the people around them, if you're top of your position, is going to continue to go up.
Yep.
Right now, this will probably level out in the coming years. It kind of depends on TV contracts and how all that works out.
Yeah.
But until it sort of levels out to where each year the cap stays relatively consistent, right now the teams have zero leverage. They have no leverage at all. Because unless you're
willing to let him walk.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. In the past, the teams had some leverage in terms of they could play the waiting game and potentially save some money.
Right.
Because there wasn't reason always to believe that 4, 5, 6 guys at that position are going to just leapfrog above what that guy's asking for right away.
Right.
Right now, if you don't pay Dak right now and you give it another season or what have you, man, there's going to be 3 or 4 more quarterbacks that are going to get paid buku dollars next year, and all of a sudden Dak's going to say, actually, I want a little bit more.
I want more. Right.
And the Cowboys, again, because we all know they're not willing to start completely over.
Right.
Okay, Jerry Jones is 1,000 years old, and he wants a Super Bowl desperately. He's not starting over.
Right. The other side, at least for me, the other side of that is, hey, win me a title, I'll give you whatever you want. And I know it's hard to say that. You know what I'm saying though? Like even with like Trevor, like for me, it was like, show me this year that you are everything that you're supposed to be, right? And there are questions right now if he is. I think he's gotten better. His ball placement's better, but we got to see this year. I hope he's gonna have a good year. I think he's gonna have a good year. But this is a big year for him to show that he is that quarterback that you need, that franchise. He's going to carry you when you're down 7-0, like Graham had said earlier. He's going to bring you back every single time, not every once in a while. That kind of guy. And I could see, what was my stance? Because I know what you were saying about the money. Look, say you didn't pay him, but he had a kick-ass year. I'd be like, dude, I'll give you $60 million a year. I'll give you $65 I don't really care. You're bringing me a championship. It's worth it. So that's the other side of it. Now that's kind of like, that's living on the edge. Like that ain't gonna happen. You're not gonna do that, right? Because you don't want Dak. You don't want Dak to go, okay, I won't renegotiate. I'm done. I'm gonna play this year. I kick ass. I get you maybe to the, I don't know, NFC Championship game, and maybe we lose, but it's not my fault. And now I'm a free agent, And now you got all these other teams coming after because he's got to know he's protected. He can go anywhere after this year. Dak can. There's no clauses there that he's right.
Mhm.
He's free agent.
I believe so. Yeah.
So are you kidding me? If he has a great year with Dallas, what's going to happen? Teams are going to flood money at him more than you've been seeing this offseason by far. It might be $70 million a year. You know what I mean?
What if Baker doesn't have a great year 2 in Tampa, or what if things are really falling apart in Carolina with Bryce Young, or
Absolutely.
What if there's all these scenarios?
Always.
Like, man.
So that's the predicament they find themselves in. Nobody's crying for them. They're worth billions of dollars. But my point is, you're kind of sitting like, okay, take the zeros out of it. Just, you're sitting there as an owner. You're like, damn, I really like Dak. He's great. But I have questions about him. He's not clutch enough. He throws picks at the wrong time. Not all his fault. But let's face it, that's how we measure our quarterbacks.
Yeah.
He hasn't won me a title.
Yeah.
He hasn't won that much in the play. You know what I mean? Like, but I still have to pay him. It must irk you a little bit, right? I mean, I don't know. If you have $10,000 and you got to give a dime away, are you worried about it?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But the principle of it, you're like, shit, no, I'm not just giving that dime away. Unless someone needs it, that type of thing. Maybe it's a bad analogy, but you get what I'm saying.
And again, it comes down to leverage again. Like, especially, I think with other positions, it's a little different because even premium positions, like there are like the 49ers with Ayuk just now.
Yep.
If they had let Ayuk go, okay. They still got George Kittle. They still got Deebo Samuel. They just drafted a receiver in the first round. They're still one of the best teams in the league regardless.
Right.
Like, Brandon Ayuk might be worth, like, another win or two on the schedule, right? When you put all of it together,
measure it all.
right?
Yeah.
Quarterback is not just a player that you're going to replace.
Right.
If you move on from a quarterback especially if you drafted him and invested in him, you are saying that we are starting over as a franchise.
Yep.
And most teams, especially teams in situations like Dallas, and I think definitely a team like here with Trevor,
yep.
A team is not going to be willing to do that, man. After 2020 and 2021
yep.
and all that disaster and then having the one good season, like,
you're not going to do that unless you are so confident that you have who you have in the stables ready to take over. Right? Look at Green Bay. Favre, until they felt like Aaron Rodgers was ready and he was expendable, a legend. What do you mean you're not? What do you mean you're going with Rodgers? You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? Favre's not the quarterback of the Packers? He's a legend. What are you talking about? He's going to the Jets. Yeah, we got Aaron Rodgers. We think he's going to be as good or better.
And
we feel good about him, right?
And then with Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love,
right?
Yeah.
So then you go to Jordan Love.
That's true.
Okay? Now go to Dallas.
Yeah.
You ain't giving that to Trey Lance.
No, hell no.
Who are you giving it to?
Right.
There's nobody there.
Right.
If there was somebody, what if they make this trade for Trey Lance? They paid a lot for that kid. What if he did turn out to be? What if instead of the other night he threw 5 touchdowns instead of 5 picks? We're all like, you know what? Maybe he's ready to take over. But clearly he's not now. So then you really do have to find someone brand spanking new to be your QB. That's tough to find.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting you bring that up because maybe as quarterback salaries continue to get more and more insane, maybe that is the path that teams take forward. Is if you've got a quarterback that you feel good about, but you might not think he's Mahomes or Burrow or somebody,
right.
but you think he's pretty good. Maybe when he's in year 3, year 4, and a contract's coming, maybe not first round, maybe second round, you take a QB.
You're looking for a QB,
and you
right?
might for a backup, for an insurance policy, and then also for if you guys can't come to terms on a contract, at least I feel good about who I've invested in to be this next guy.
Right.
Look at the Falcons.
Right.
They went and got Kirk Cousins this offseason. They paid him a ton of money.
Yep.
He's going to be their guy for probably 2 years.
Right.
Michael Penix is just going to sit there and learn and develop, and all he's going to do is sit there and just get better at football for 2 years without having to play.
Yep.
And then if I'm the Falcons, I'm going to put him in 2 years from now and be like, man,
he's ready.
This is a guy I've had in the oven for a while, and he's done. He's done. He's ready to go.
Yeah, when they're ready, you're ready to make that move, just like we talked about with Love and
that could get
Rodgers.
That's a point I really think of. That could give you leverage. Like if Because, you're exactly right. If the Cowboys had Michael Penix as their backup,
right.
All right, Dak, let's see this year.
Right.
And then if we don't like
it'd be a totally different story.
It totally did. That's true. I never thought. That's a good point. I never thought about that.
You think about and you look at Kirk Cousins. You can win with Kirk. You can win.
Yeah, of course.
He's not going to wow you. I mean, look, his stats are probably pretty darn good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like you're going to sit there and be like, oh, I got to have him, right? But you're more like, yeah, I can win with him if I got a good defense, right? They've invested a lot in their defense up in Atlanta. If I've got the weapons, they've got some weapons, especially the running back. They got a good offensive line overall. He can run your offense. No, maybe he's not as flashy and can whip it around like Bennett may be able to do, but he can run my offense efficiently. I wouldn't have paid him $180 million guaranteed for that, but there's a lot of value to that. Yeah, you do need the quarterback to make the clutch throws. That, whether he's a franchise guy or not, they got to make plays at clutch moments. They have to. I mean, that's why they get paid all that money. I mean, that's why they're the number one position in the game. You have to deliver, and if you deliver, forget about it. Right? You're set for life.
Look at the Steelers.
Yeah,
they got Russell. They got Russell for almost nothing because the Broncos are paying Russell all his money right now.
Yeah, right.
But they also said Justin Fields is available. All right, I'll take him too.
Yeah, see what he's got. And Russ beat him out, it looks like.
Yeah, but from what it sounded like with Tomlin, he basically said, I took Russell because of the resume. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well,
yeah.
So did Fields ever have a fair shot? I mean, if Fields had gone in preseason and gone crazy, he might have won the job. But it kind of seemed like that job was already decided.
But in Russell's defense, he quietly had a good year last year with Denver. I mean, put us some numbers. It wasn't too bad.
Good relative to...
Not to his good, but good relative to...
Good relative to how disastrous the year before was.
It was terrible.
The year before was, like, historically awful.
Missing guys, not seeing them. I remember watching that stuff.
The year before, the 2022 Broncos was like a 2021 Jaguars kind of thing. It was that bad. And then 20 last year, they were, like, manageable.
Yeah, now they're going Bo Nix. We'll see how that works out. But nonetheless, we'll see what happens out there in Dallas, man. Obviously I could care less one way or the other because I'm not a huge fan, but it did bring up a lot of interest in, like, man, sometimes you just got to pay, I guess, right? That is the deal. All right, we'll get into some Jaguar talk. Before I do, just a quick reminder, Team Tommy Mac. If you go to TommyMac.net, and if you scroll down and you see my sponsors, the Team Tommy Mac sponsors, Chris Lucero's Bail Bonds, Carpet Man Flooring, LVP, J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling, Azar Sausage, Code Ninjas, Michael Nickus' State Farm Agency, Family Tradition Specialty Foods, Home of Coconut Joe's. They got a brand new Ghost hot sauce coming out. Ghost Pepper hot sauce is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I'll get you that. Freedom Finance, help you with finding a CFO. Newmark Phoenix Realty Group, and Salt Air Inn and Suites. You'll see them all there. If you click on their logo, it'll take you right to their respective websites. It's a fantastic way to get to know Team Tommy Mac and see what they're all about. And let me tell you something. You may not need them right this instant, but when you do, they are there for you, and they are going to give you a great deal, great products and services, and great customer service along with that. They're friends of mine. They're friends of yours. You can trust them because I do as well, and do want to thank everybody on Team Tommy Mac, including Carpet Man Flooring, home of VP. All right, so as we get ready for the regular season against Miami, what do we got? We got Miami, Cleveland at home, Houston. Are they on the road? Number 3? And then who's our 4th game of the year? The
Bills.
No. Huh? The Bills, right?
Or I think the Bills are the 3rd game.
The Bills are 3rd, and then the Texans are 4th?
Monday Night Football, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm going to that Bills game, so, in Buffalo.
Are you?
Yeah, I am.
It's funny. People are kind of down on Josh Allen a little bit nationally, They obviously, he's got a lot of talent, but he does throw a lot of picks. Now, that's a gunslinger. They call these other guys, gunslingers are ones that throw a lot of touchdowns and throw a lot of picks.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to whip it around.
Brett
That's
Favre.
A gunslinger. Like Favre, yeah. But he was 2-1. Think about that. Just think how many touchdowns he's thrown. His interceptions were half of those.
But he threw a lot of touchdowns.
He threw a lot of touchdowns.
So he threw a lot
so
of picks
2-1
too.
means yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I threw 100
It's a good
touchdowns,
ratio.
but only 50 picks.
Yeah.
That's a good ratio. But 2-1 in a game, you're like,
The thing with Allen
win.
is a lot of his picks seem to just come at really bad times.
Yeah.
It's
He
poorly
believes
timed
in that
interceptions.
arm, man.
Yeah. You got to know, man, like, game's on the line.
Kenny Rogers said it best: knowing to hold him, knowing to fold him, walk away, run, that whole deal.
It's like,
You're like, who's Kenny Rogers? But
yeah, no idea who that is.
Anyway, no, you're right. You're right. You gotta know when to pull the trigger, and you gotta know when not to pull the trigger, and that's with Trevor too. We gotta make sure Trevor's on that same boat as well, man. You want to believe in that arm. You want them believing in that arm. But you got to take care of that football. So we shall see. But if they get out of that 2-2, they'll be okay. I really want to see them against Miami. I mean, look, you just don't know. You really don't know. You're hoping for the best. You're hoping that they may be a little rusty, maybe, or maybe it takes them a little bit to get going. I haven't broken down the game yet. I'm not declaring a Jags victory. I'm not declaring a Jags loss either. I just got to know that we can stop their run and that we can control that passing offense. If we don't hit Tua, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day. If they control our line, they could put up 50. They could. It's hard to cover those guys when you don't have pressure.
They put up 70 in a game last year.
Against Denver, yeah, they
against
did
a
early.
good defense.
Yeah, they did.
A defense that, like, a month later was like, man, that's a good defense.
No doubt. Ended up being a pretty darn
70
good defense.
points.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. Did you see that? Did you watch the game last night, Colorado game?
I watched the second half. I was at dinner
You didn't see the first half. So I think it was the second touchdown. What's the wide receiver's name?
Travis Hunter?
What's that?
Travis Hunter?
No, it wasn't him. The real fast one. They say he's the fastest on the team. Anyway, quarterback throws it up to the middle of the field. He looked like Tyreek Hill. Like, just throw it. Shing. It's like, and just ran under it, caught it. Nobody caught it. He turned the corner, ran all the way to the end. So I'm like, that's Tyreek Hill. I mean, that's how that guy makes his money, makes his living. If you allow that stuff to happen, it's going to be a long-ass day. So I'm not ready to break it down yet, but I am expecting our defense to be much better against the run last year. I am expecting them to be more consistent. Remember last year early, they carried our team. Every year or every week, we were like, defense is carrying this team. Defense is carrying it. When they were 8-3, who was standing out consistently more than the other side? It was the defense. They were great on third down. They're creating turnover. Remember, they were number one in the league at 11 takeaways early in the season or during that stretch. So, and then it tapered off, as we all know. So, we'd love a great start. But regardless, it depends how, but in a macro statement, I'm not getting too carried away. I'm still going to critique as hard as I ever do because I like doing that, and I'll praise when they do well and I'll critique when they don't. But we can't get too excited one way or the other. You can do whatever you want. But last 2 years, we've known what this team has done, right? They're 500 ball club. They got there one way one year, and they got there the opposite way the next year. At the end of the day, they're still that 9-8, just above 500 ball club. I think they're going to win 10 games this year, hopefully more. But I'm seeing, it's funny. I see, again, rankings, you can't get too carried away. But they have them at 9-8. A lot of national pundits at 9-8, 10-7 area. They got a lot to prove. Trevor has a lot to prove. I saw a list earlier, I think it was yesterday, Microsoft Sports, something like that. They had the top ranked offenses in the National Football League. Jags were 17th. The reason they were 17th is because, and I'm paraphrasing, because Trevor Lawrence hasn't taken that next step yet. They're waiting for that to happen. But when he does, if he does, we hope he does, that'll jump. There'll be a top 10 offense if he can take that next step. And I know a lot of people out there like, oh, he could, everyone loves that whole, well, wait a minute, Tom. Midway through 22, midway through 23, look at his stats. Now, they're two different seasons, but we want to lump them together to try to prove that He's this awesome quarterback. I don't put those two together. I put 2022 and 2023, and I look at him. 2022, he was a lot better than 2023. Even as good in 2023, his 2022 good was better. And if you remember that, he was a little clunky. Then he did okay, and then the ankle injury crushed them all. Right? That was the end to a great year. He was on to a good year. That injury happened, no doubt. But let's not forget the mistakes that have been made in the past. They can't happen. They can't happen. Has he grown? I know what they're talking about. Look, he can whip it a mile. That's great. He's got a cannon. Great. He can, man, when he's on, some of that pinpoint precision is great. It's there. But it's not consistent enough to where you're like, okay, this guy, it's funny too, and I'm not going to say who because that's not right. I wouldn't do that. But ever since he's gotten his deal, I hear more and more pundits, more privately, not publicly, talk about, he's missing this, he's missing. I'm like, where were you guys before the deal? You know what I mean? Like, all you did was kiss his ass, and now, he doesn't see the field that well. Well, I've known that. You can see that, right? So think about this. The backside safety that he tends to throw picks to. It's only a few times, but they come at critical moments. Or they did when it happened last year. He's got to be able to see that. That's not having tunnel vision towards your target. The awareness. Does he see the field better? Does he read defenses better? Does he know where to go with the ball, where that guy's going to be open every single time? Can he get there? Is another question, and that comes from protection. But we can talk about the O-line, the D-line. You can talk about everything. But it's all going to come down to number 16. If you think about it, has Trevor Lawrence taken that next step to carry this team? That doesn't mean the supporting cast doesn't help. That doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that Travis Etienne and Tank have monster years. But what it means is like what Graham said earlier, you're down 7, the clock's ticking. Can he put the offense on his back and win that ball game more times than not? What would you answer that, B?
My answer would be yes.
Not going into this year, what he's done in the past.
Yeah.
You think he's answered the bell in that way?
I think so. 22, he did it a bunch of times.
Okay.
In the last season, I think he did it against Houston last season.
The second game.
Hurt. Second game, yeah.
First game was terrible.
Smaller sample size of doing it last season, but we kind of went through last season. But I think he showed that in clutch moments he can deliver clutch
that he
plays.
Can, but now he has to.
Yeah, that's true.
Does that make sense?
That's
why the rankings are where they're at. They're waiting for that. I think we all are. Maybe not the ones that going to praise him no matter what they think.
Yeah, that's fair.
The next gift.
Can versus must.
Yeah, I know he can. Yeah, of course he can.
But if he doesn't, it's not, it's okay.
No.
It's like, no, man.
No,
that's fair. I get what you're saying.
That takes you to that elite level. By the way, all this yard talk, shit. Yards. I posted the other day, 4,000 yards in a 17-game season is 235 a game. If I hold you to 235, I win.
Yeah.
Now, do you throw 4 touchdowns and beat me? You know what I mean? You got to weigh that in. But I'm just talking yards. I win. That's not impressive. So I don't care if he gets another 4,000 yards. Who cares? 235 a game. 5,000 yards is 293. You do that okay. That means you're whipping it around, and you're having a pretty darn good year.
That also means you're getting explosive plays. That means you're
yeah.
That means
they're relying more on you than the run game. Like the 235 is great because it's part of a system, right? Our run game's working, our pass game's working.
Yeah.
I don't care if he throws for 400. I just want him to run our offense and be efficient. And 235 a game's fantastic with 2 touchdowns and no picks and no fumbles. I'll take it all day long. I don't care about the yards. And I'm not just talking me. I'm talking them, the Jags. That's what they want.
They want efficiency.
They don't want him sitting back there whipping it. Now, granted, last year, you remember, Wasn't it the opening? Was it last year's opening game or 22's opening season? He threw it like 50 times. You're like, what are you doing?
I mean, look,
Remember
man, the Chiefs don't always do that with Mahomes. Like, the
Yep.
Chiefs run the ball. The Chiefs methodically move down the field. Like, and it's not to say they can't. Obviously, they do have explosive plays, and
Right.
Mahomes can do Superman type things. But watch them game to game to game. Like, a lot of their drives are Pacheco 4 yards.
Yep.
Kelsey's
11.
Rashee Rice slant 6 yards.
Right.
Like, Pacheco again 5. Like, they methodically move down the field a lot.
Think how Brady used to run the Pats offense. He would
Yeah.
dink, dunk, and then lull you to sleep and throw it over the top, and they'd get something. Except when they had Randy Moss. They just say go deep.
Then Randy Moss was like, all right, this is just
Randy
not
was
fair.
like 10 yards into his route going,
Yeah, right.
I'm open.
Right.
Just throw it, Tom. I'll go get it.
You throw to the next county. I got you.
That was exciting, no doubt. For them, anyway, not for us. All right, well, we'll get into it next week with Miami. The regular season's here. We've been waiting for it. Looking forward to this weekend. A little relaxation, couple honeydews, going to Fort George. Monday night. Hey, all you Seminole fans, if I see you out there, you see me out there, say hello. Not the enemy. We're just going to have a good time. I don't know what to expect out of Boston College. I really don't. Bill O'Brien, I really like Bill. He's perfect for our program. I know Bill personally. He's tough love all the way, which I absolutely love. And he's got him believing. So we'll see. Florida State obviously took one on the chin last week. You would think that they're going to come out guns a-blazing because you can't go 0-2. You might be able to with 12 playoff teams, but you really don't want to. So that's going to be a tough battle. But if I see you, say hello. We'll shock in a beer or something. I don't know. I'm ready. I'm spending the night, so it's game on for me.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm going to have a good time. Hope you all have a great weekend. Thanks to Team Tommy Mac. Thanks to 1010XL. Thanks to Grammage. Thanks to all of you that check it out on Facebook and all over the place listening to Catching Up with Tommy Mac. So until next time, stay safe. Be cool, man, out there, especially this weekend, okay? And if you get it thrown in the clink, my man Chris Lucero will get you out in a blink. So make sure you put that down. 904-822-2245. Always want to take care of everybody out there. So until next time, we'll see you. Have a good one, everybody. Peace.